And before we have the chance actually to hear Chloé, we have to be extremely, I mean, we are very lucky for having Chloé with us tonight because she should be actually on the moon, as you can see.
True.
Because Chloé actually is passionate about what's going on in the air and on the planets, and she wants to be the first woman on the moon. Actually, this is as simple as that. So let's hope you're going to achieve your dream. But before that, let's retain you a few moments on the earth with us, and before you realize your dream, I think you have another big ambition for us all, is really to reconcile us, I would say, with science. And underneath that, you want also to develop the woman presence in science, and believing definitely that science could be a real game changer for our planet for good. Then you will be partnering actually with Olivier. Olivier Daguet, you're a fierce believer in education too. And you are actually developing a lot of projects through your foundation, the Saint-Exupéry, Fondation Antoine de Saint-Exupéry for la Jeunesse. And you are supporting everyday education through different projects, through reading projects, making school as a life enabler experience. And you're acting in more than 15 countries. So very happy to be with you tonight. And please, Chloé, the time, you have 5 minutes now, only for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really a privilege to be with all of you tonight and to be able to talk about such important topics that are education and gender equality. And when I was asked to talk about this, I really asked myself, there's so much to say in 5 minutes. What am I going to say? And, you know, our generation and my generation, we're faced with global and massive challenges today and for the decades to come. We've talked about climate change or sustainable development, and it seems now that global wars are also on the menu. And when you think about it, education is really at the center. And so the main thing that I like to tell you tonight is that education is a solution. But for it to be a successful solution, we need to completely rethink how we're currently doing it. I don't know about you, but I think that education is an iterative process. We don't know when we are 1 or 2 years old what we're going to do when you are 25 or 45. And to support my claim, I'd like to tell you a bit more about myself and my story. So this is me. I was 1 year old, and I can tell you that in this image, I probably didn't think I would be one day wearing a shiny spacesuit in front of 200 people. Probably more thinking about how I'm going to let my parents sleep tonight, or what am I going to eat in an hour or so. This is me at 6. And at that time, I wanted to be a princess or a singer. Is it really what I wanted to be, or is it what society told me that I could be? That's also another question. The passion for space really came later on. When I was a young woman, I was 15 years old when I fell in love with the space field, and I realized I wanted to become an astrophysicist, study black holes or the beginning of the universe. And this is why I came to EPFL to study physics. And I failed my first year at EPFL. And when I did it again, I took some time to start projects with a purpose to contribute to the space field, even if I were only 19 years old. And this is when I realized that I don't want to be a physicist. I don't want to be behind a screen looking at lines of codes to see if this is a star or not. I want to be out in the real world and doing projects. So I shifted and I said I want to do management and engineering, and hopefully one day becoming an astronaut and walking on the moon. And a year ago, I had a terrible accident at home, and I lost my left eye, which will make me make it very difficult for me to become an astronaut, even though it's still a dream. So this is why today I define myself as a space influencer, because I really want to bridge the gap between science and society. And I really believe that in this post-pandemic era, this is what we need. So in only 24 years, my path has changed quite a lot. And I think the message is that when we talk about education, we need to include that failure is part of the path, that taking the less traveled road is okay. And as long as you do something that makes you happy at time T, then you are exceptional, as we could hear in the speech by Carol at the beginning. Now, what about gender equality? Well, gender equality is an educational matter. I'm 24, as I mentioned, and for the past 23 years, I've grown up thinking that equality was a state of mind. And I've come to realize that this is not the case. And I think we need to raise our daughters and sons knowing that they are growing in an unequal world. A world where, when we learn the French grammaire, we say, le masculin remporte sur le féminin. And a world where, in school, we don't learn what consent is. And those little details are what are going to make the changes, I believe, in gender equality. And to end my talk, and I think that was appropriate, I want to show you my favorite quote of The Little Prince. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves, and it is tiresome for children to be always and forever explaining things to them. Because yes, we need to teach our children, but we also need to learn from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ça marche?
Oui,
Yeah.
très bien.
Good evening,
Allez-y.
everybody. So you will see that Chloé and I are sharing the same passion for this little fellow, the little prince, here and here. It's not a coincidence, of course. Chloé, talking about two major topics, education in science, and gender equality in education. Can you tell us what you do to improve these two targets in your daily life?
Yes. So as I mentioned,
Very briefly.
I'll try. No, very briefly, I say I define myself as a science influencer, a space influencer. It's a term that is kind of new. I mean, I'm not posting pictures of myself in a bikini on Instagram. I'm using social media and going in an outreach with adults, but also with children, to really try to inspire them with my story, but also really implementing specific projects. I think of one project that we did together in a primary school where we run a 1-year project with children that were 7 to 8 years old, where they needed to design their very own space mission. So everything they learned in class was to be able to do and perform their mission. So they were astronauts for 3 days, where they simulated life on another celestial body. And you need to, for instance, learn how to read a clock, because you have a very specific flight plan, and in space the time counts. Or you need to learn how to do math, because a space mission costs. So you need to do a budget to make sure that you can actually do it. So this is the type of concrete actions that I try to do in my everyday life with you.
And gender equality?
Gender equality is, I want to say, it's kind of a new topic for me, or I'm reflecting in a different way. If you would have asked me the question a year ago, I would have said, I fight for gender equality only by what I do. So by showing that I am a young woman, and I'm able to speak in front of an audience, I'm able to do EPFL, and simply only that. Because as I said, I did believe that equality was only a state of mind. Now I'm really much more involved in specific actions that I think will make the difference. And through my social media, a lot, I try to talk about different news. I mean, we've seen what's happening currently in the US, for instance. So I really try to advocate and discuss around those matters.
How many followers do you have? It's not a secret.
It's not a secret, no. I don't have that much. I mean, on Instagram, I have about 1,500. And then I'm a YouTuber. So I have a YouTube channel where I have about also, 1,000 followers there. And I use social media, but also I try to do really things in person. Although this has been kind of difficult for the past 2 years. Yeah. How about you?
Saint-Exupéry? I don't have personally. Saint-Exupéry is 50,000 on Instagram. Yeah, it's not much, but okay. In the Saint-Exupéry Foundation, we believe that the challenge of sustainability is going through. The solutions are in technological innovation. Means science, means education for science. And that's it's a really big challenge now to convince young people, young generation, to invest themselves in science studies. So you are studying in EPFL. So do you think now in this kind of school, this priority is enough spread among the schools, among the teens?
Well, I think that sustainability is, of course, a core concept. And we've seen Aurora told us just before that a decade ago that we were not mentioning it, but now it's a big thing. We have a master's around sustainability, and it's something that we try to always take into account when you design a project. But I still believe that although we have a lot of initiatives, it's not something that we think by default. And I'll take you a specific example. So we talk about here sustainability on Earth. And we also have now sustainability in space, where we have a lot of problems. So we've been sending satellites in orbit for the past 50 years without considering what would happen to them when they're not operational anymore. So now we have junk in space. And probably it's going to hit one day a communication satellite, and you will not be able to have Google Maps on your telephone, and everybody would like, okay, that's a problem. And it's something that we are not enough taking into account. So we think directly of the things we can see and the consequences we see directly, but not enough of the things that are behind it, I believe.
Thank you. Sorry, I have to stop you. I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Let me ask a question.
And let's see actually what kind of questions you might have. Alors, yeah, Chloé, but it's linked to what you were just saying, actually. Okay, what do you think about spatial tourism?
That's a very good question, and we're laughing because we, of course, that's a big debate now, and especially with the general public. So first of all, I did a video on that matter on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested and want to dive deep into that, you can go and look at it. I think it's a complicated topic, and I am not the kind of person that likes to say this is black or white. I think that space tourism poses some ethical concerns, some environmental concerns, but that it also brings a lot to society. And it's something that was meant to happen, because we've seen space evolve as NASA, European Space Agency, going up here. Now companies are starting to see a new resource where they can generate value. So I think there was, of course, something that we could have seen, that this space tourism was meant to be developed. I believe that it's a good thing, but that we should limit it. As everything. And the good thing is we're only at the beginning, so we get to set the rules now. And this is what I'm trying to do. What do you think about space tourism?
Well, I think it's not only about space tourism, it's about space exploration and space industry, globally speaking. I think the technological innovations that they reached in this industry are now available for other industries on Earth. So I think it's positive on this way.
True. We were talking about the coffee before, your coffee machine comes from space exploration.
Oh.
So it's good for science and it's good for humanity, globally speaking. Okay. Then tourism, as we said last time, is to be limited and to be controlled. Like we said, we choose to travel once a year to Philippines or to Thai, and well, it should be the same for the space. We should protect the space as we have to protect the planet from this mass tourism.
Thank you. Olivier, maybe to deep dive a bit more into the projects that you are developing, can you give us maybe a bit more concrete achievements of some of your key projects?
Yes, hopefully we have some achievements. We have been working with the Foundation since 13 years now, so it's quite recent. But we are working with the same partners since then. So we have 10 years view of some of our actions. For example, in Cambodia, we are working with a big French NGO who is building all the infrastructure for readings and books in Khmer in Cambodia, in the country. It's a fantastic work. And we have issued the first book for children book in Khmer. That was 12 years ago. It was The Little Prince in Khmer, Oprashkan, something like that. And it has been a huge success in the village and the libraries. We have bibliobus, what we call bibliobus or boat bus, that are bringing books, children books, to the small village. And this works very successfully. And now we can see that we have a real improvement of bringing the culture and the Khmer language and readings to this village and to these kids. So for us, it's a big satisfaction, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. And just maybe one last question to both of you that you need to answer with one word, okay? Which will be, in order to promote gender equality, which word would you like to tell us? Just one word. It's a tough one.
Inclusiveness.
And you?
To the young woman, please involve yourself in science.
Okay, so science.
Yeah, to science, you will bring a lot more.
Okay. So thank you very much to both of you.